know
2002 would see the second decade of Gibraltar National Days. To mark this, the Self-Determination for Gibraltar Group announced it was to institute a walk or picnic. This was to create controversy in September, with the MOD refusing to allow Gibraltar flags to be flown next to the Union Jack from MOD land.
Respect such property, consider that it belongs to them, and any action to do this should always be accompanied by a thought of legality and respect. There is no illegality in placing a Gibraltar flag anywhere in Gibraltar, and we will ask people during the year and make flags available for them to be flown throughout the whole of Gibraltar.
In a year that was to see major changes for Gibraltar's financial institutions, Financial Services Commissioner Martin Fugel published his annual report, which said the ROC continued to respond to the international initiatives and challenges.
If finance faced threats, so did the local palm trees. These fell prey to a large beetle of Middle Eastern origin.
The growing core of the palm tree, right in the centre of the crown, with anything up to 20 litres of a very strong insecticide. But it must only be done by professionals. It's very dangerous, and it can only be done by people who know what they're doing. If you get the tree young enough and treated with this, if the infestation is young enough, then you may be able to prevent it. But the main thing is to try and eliminate as many of these weevils as we can. Otherwise, we could end up losing a lot of our very beautiful palm trees in Gibraltar.
Meanwhile, in its New Year message, the GNHS vowed to keep the public informed of Gibraltar's environmental problems. It took the opportunity to oppose the construction of several residential buildings at the rear of the Rock Hotel.
And still on the subject of housing, the Landlords and Tenants Ordinance spilled into 2002, with Action for Housing expressing concern over the Rent Tribunal's decision not to meet until the Privy Council considered the matter of rent control. At the Gibraltar Heritage Trust AGM later in the year, the Deputy Chief Minister, Keith Asopardi, said the matter was being looked into.
Some received a New Year tax rebate. Intruders helped themselves to around £400 by gaining access to the Income Tax Office through a window.
Gibraltar saw a major change to its social make-up on the 7th of January when the new school hours were introduced. These allowed students to stay for lunch at school. Government was accused by the opposition of having embarked on the project without having adequate infrastructure to deal with it.
It's been a major sociological change in the pattern of life in Gibraltar, and it's brought great relief to parents, to grandparents as well, and certainly to those of us who drive in our streets, because it's quite striking the big difference it's made in dislodging and unblocking the traffic congestion. So I think we can look forward to a very successful, as the dust settles and we get used to the routine. I think we'll be very relieved that we have achieved something very important for the community in Gibraltar.
And what is very much a part of Gibraltar's social make-up, the Three Kings Cavalcade received a new wave of support after interest had seemingly waned the previous years. 10 floats entered, with the Royal Gibraltar Regiment, aptly named Gladiator Float, taking first prize in the senior section. The Gibraltar Youth Office took the first prize in the junior category with a version of a 70s disco.
Gibraltar Home from Home was a slogan that was to promote the rock abroad. The campaign, launched by the GTB in London, aimed to portray all Gibraltar has to offer, whilst highlighting the fact that it's a part of Britain with sun.
And Gibraltar was represented at the 48th London Boat Show at Earl's Court. The tourist board manned a stand in the sailing holidays section, together with the Gibraltar Mariners Association.
One of our main target markets is the yachting and cruising market, and obviously the London Boat Show is our natural place to be at in order to promote Gibraltar's yachting facilities and promote yachting to Gibraltar.
And that same week, Gibraltar was ranked the 6th strongest growth destination by the leading UK short-break specialist, Travel Scene.
The anniversary of the death of the local Augustinian nun, Simi Cohen-Levy, was commemorated on the Rock as a process to canonize her was initiated.
Well, we should be proud, that one of us reached the climax of sanctity proclaimed by the Church. As we know, saints are made saints in their life. After that, the Church just proclaimed them they are saints, but they are saints in their lives. And because Jesus in the Gospel tells us, be holy and be perfect as your Father, who is in heaven, is perfect and holy.
Following the introduction of the euro at the beginning of the year, Gibraltarians were asked to hunt through their drawers for foreign currency. The money was then collected by the local charity Children's Aid.
The civil service union, GGCA Prospect, elected José Luis Garcia as its new president. This followed a request from the membership that an EGM be held, as there was division within the ranks.
Legal arguments in the court case against local lawyer Chris Finch and businessman Plinio Rossino started before Southwark Crown Court in London. The men had allegedly been involved in a £15 million money laundering and fraud case.
The first commanding officer of the Gibraltar Regiment, Charles Norton, died at the age of 88. A tribute to his work as a Justice of the Peace was paid by the Magistrates' Court.
In acknowledgement of the unsuitability of the Option C scheme for people in low-income brackets, the government gave tenants of Sir William Jackson Grove, who were having difficulty with payments, the chance to exchange their flats for government accommodation.
One of the Mayor of Algeciras' New Year resolutions was to patch things up with the Chief Minister. Patricio González gave a public apology for his past treatment of Peter Caruana, saying he recognised that at times he had been excessively hard on him. Relations improved after that.
And a new cross-border environmental committee comprising the Environmental Safety Group, the GNHS and other groups in the Campo area was formed. Adeva aimed to tackle environmental issues in a more cohesive way.
The disposal of an unexploded World War II bomb led to an incident at sea when the Spanish Navy took exception to the Royal Navy's operation to bring the device to the surface and sink it in deeper waters. After a standoff, the operation was completed successfully. February began with the death of 27-year-old Daniel Santiago. He died at sea when the rib he was travelling in capsized, colliding with a Spanish launch that was chasing it.
The new reverse osmosis desalination plant installed by Lionel Zor was inaugurated by the Minister for Government Services, Ernest Brito. The plant, constructed within the rock, can produce 2 million litres of water a day.
Gibraltar celebrated the Queen's Golden Jubilee with a royal gun salute and a tree planting ceremony at the convent. The Gibraltar Philatelic Society released a set of commemorative stamps, and the Chief Minister sent a message of congratulations.
Following years of negotiations, the Transport and General Workers Union finally agreed on a harmonisation package with the Ministry of Defence. This, it said, would eradicate discrimination between non-industrial and industrial employees. The package was overwhelmingly accepted.
Lawyer Tony Provasoli was appointed the new chairman of the Bar Council. He took over from Robert Vasquez, who'd occupied the post for 3 years.
There is still a little bit of room for improvement, particularly legal aid fees to cover the lengthy preparation that needs to take place in complicated cases.
And the former leader of the Bar Council, Sam Benedict QC, died at the age of 96. At the start of court proceedings, a 1-minute silence was observed, after which the Chief Justice paid tribute to him and described him as one of the bar's true gentlemen.
Days later, the Chief Justice again found himself at the centre of controversy. His contract expired, with Mr Justice Schofield reluctant to accept a 1-year extension. He argued that since he did not have security of tenure, he couldn't sit as an independent and impartial tribunal.
Gibraltar began experiencing problems with its sewers in February. The government confirmed there'd been a partial collapse of the main sewer in the junction between Red Sands Road and Rosia Road.
A book of condolence was opened at the convent for members of the public to write their tributes to Princess Margaret, who died at the age of 71. The princess, the Queen's younger sister, passed away after a long period of ill health.
A protest at the airport terminal resulted in the former ILF deputy leader Felix Alvarez being arrested. The March for Justice Committee, supporting the Moroccan Community Association, expressed their grievances to the TGWU's General Secretary James Ellsby, who'd arrived from London. Charges were subsequently dropped.
We're not exploiting the immigrants. We do not have any reason to exploit the immigrants. We simply believe that there is social injustice at the moment by both the Gibraltar government and the union being practiced on these people. They felt that it was necessary to do this. We, as a member group organisation of March for Justice, will of course fully support any of the members within that organisation, and we will be helping and fighting for any of the members of March for Justice.
On Valentine's Day, GBC helped spread the love with a Radio Gibraltar roadshow from the Piazza and a romantic competition on TV. The money collected went towards a GBC Open Day fund.
And the day after Valentine's was the wettest since Christmas 2000. School lessons were disrupted, cars were submerged, and the flooding resulted in the fire service attending 23 emergency calls.
A rockfall resulted in a fatality for the first time ever. 20-year-old Brian Navarro was about to drive his car into Dudley Ward Tunnel when a large boulder fell onto the vehicle. His father, who was with him, suffered severe shock.
A diplomatic incident was luckily avoided and taken with a pinch of salt when a small landing craft carrying 20 Royal Marines accidentally landed in Spain as opposed to Gibraltar. Variations of the La Linea landing made it to the international media.
After opposition from residents in the area, Europlaza, a development to be built on the site adjoining the new hospital at Europort, was launched by Pebble Properties Limited.
Well, the demand in Gibraltar is tremendously buoyant for housing, especially new improved housing like we're seeing. People who are moving now from the low-cost 50-50 schemes to the 100% owned schemes where they're looking for the improved layouts, larger terraces, bigger living rooms, more bedrooms if their families have expanded, and so on.
The Gibraltar Federation of Small Businesses inaugurated its new premises in Irish Town. It was officially opened by the Minister for Trade and Industry, Keith Osopadri.
A nape was the year's second victim of a pit bull attack, following the death of an Alsatian in January. 3 days later, an American pit bull terrier killed 6 cats. Opposition parties and pressure groups expressed concern, with arrangements made to incorporate the UK's Dangerous Dogs Act into Gibraltar law.
The editor of the New People, Clive Galt, filed a complaint to the Supreme Court, claiming that both he and his newspaper were being unfairly treated by the GSD government and, in particular, by the Chief Minister.
The 6th Gibraltar Memorabilia exhibition, organised by Pepe Morello, was officially opened by the Governor. Later that month, the John Mackintosh Hall would host an exhibition, organised by the Gibraltar Heritage Trust, of maps and charts of the Bay and Strait of Gibraltar.
The government pressed ahead with compliance of OECD requirements. It, however, sought reassurances that a level playing field would exist.
These objectives applied to all finance centres. We have always been of the view, and our policy has always been, that Gibraltar is a well-regulated mainstream financial centre, and we wanted to make sure that we gave the commitment in that context.
The Commonwealth flag flew over official buildings as Gibraltar celebrated Commonwealth Day. This year, the theme was celebrating diversity, with the Governor saying that given the different cultures the Rock had absorbed through the centuries, it proved a lesson to the rest of the world.
The 3rd annual Royal Engineers Weekend was held on the Rock. The event celebrated the founding of the Royal Engineers in Gibraltar in 1772 and commemorated the 30th anniversary of the conferment of the freedom of the city.
Gibraltar conducted a major promotional campaign at the Sea Trade Cruise Convention in Miami, Florida. The convention is the largest of its kind and came at a time when cruise port of calls were eager to undo the damage to the industry caused by the 11th of September attacks.
The government pledged its support to the island of Montserrat with a Memorandum of Understanding. It was to cover areas such as tourism development, administration of public housing, financial services, telecommunications, education and training.
British citizenship was extended to Gibraltar without the need of application. This followed the coming into effect of the British Overseas Territories Act.
The organisers of the public demonstration against a done deal turned down the MOD's offer of using the Navy's sports pitch as a car park after permission had been denied for the ground to be used as an assembly area. The MOD had thought this inappropriate due to the political nature of the demonstration.
A selection of BBC's top gardeners recorded a special Easter edition of the popular Radio 4 programme, Gardener's Question Time on the Rock.
Oh, Gibraltar is very much in the news back in the UK at the moment, and we record 2 programmes every year overseas, and we look for a number of things. One is a good, solid English-speaking audience, and Gibraltar certainly has that, and some fascinating flora, and equally Gibraltar has that. So given the fact that it's in the news, there's flora and English-speaking audience, we're here.
A new structure was put into place in the Ministry for Housing for it to work alongside the Buildings and Works Department with a new management structure. Strategic planning was identified for the next couple of years and a new senior post created.
There'll be a refocusing, if you like, between the relationship between the Ministry of Housing and Buildings and Works. And we will also be recruiting new management to deal with that particular focuses and to deliver the outcomes as specified by the new Ministry of Housing.
Following the mass demonstration, an EC plan to offer Gibraltar over £30 million for it to accept the Anglo-Spanish deal was made public. The notion was condemned by both government and opposition.
The Spanish authorities introduced a second traffic lane across the frontier for vehicles travelling to Spain. This followed the European Commission's decision to drop the investigation as to whether the delays breached EU law.
The Women's Association presented a petition with over 15,500 signatures to the Queen. It called for her to do everything in her power to ensure the people of Gibraltar are guaranteed the retention of their British nationality and way of life.
Tim Hitchens was going to present the petition to Her Majesty this morning. He had a meeting with her this morning and he was actually going to present it personally to her on behalf of the people of Gibraltar. He explained that considering the circumstances surrounding the situation with Gibraltar, that we would be receiving a reply. A carefully worded reply was what he actually said, but yes, we would be receiving a reply from Her Majesty, and that eventually the actual petition, the box itself, because it was beautifully presented in a mahogany and gold box, that would actually be taken to Windsor and would be preserved in Windsor.
The Fine Arts Gallery at Casemates Barracks was officially inaugurated by the Culture Minister Bernard Linares. The first exhibition was a collection of sketches by Tiana Langdon.
Gibraltar heard of the Golden Hind Association and of Kevin Kelway for the first time in March. At the time, it was only known as a Plymouth Supports Gibraltar campaign. Relations were to sour slightly later on in the year when the Chief Minister refused to be photographed next to the city's Sir Francis Drake lookalike.
The government's Heritage and Planning Division launched the first issue of its biannual magazine on Gibraltar heritage.
The main purpose of the magazine is essentially to raise awareness. It's aimed at really everyone in Gibraltar to try and help them realize just what a vast, rich resource we have here in terms of heritage, which really belongs to everyone.
Royal Gibraltar Police and Customs officers came under heavy criticism in a Supreme Court ruling by the Chief Justice. A drugs case was thrown out of court because of what Mr. Schofield described as too many lies and improper conduct.
Books of condolences were opened at the convent and at the piazza following the death of one of Britain's best-loved royals. The Queen Mother, who had been 101, passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral took place at Westminster Abbey a week later.
GBC presented the proceeds from last year's Open Day. £50,000 were divided among 6 local charities.
The 13th International Conference of the World Association for Small and Medium Enterprises was held on the Rock. Hosted by the Gibraltar Federation of Small Businesses, it was inaugurated by the Chief Minister and attended by around 250 delegates from all over the world.
The vessel Spirit of Cardiff set sail from Gibraltar in an attempt to break the record for the fastest circumnavigation of the globe. The record had been set 4 years ago by the Cable and Wireless Adventurer, which completed the round trip, also from Gibraltar, in just under 75 days.
The Cadiz provincial government formed a joint venture company with the government of Gibraltar and the municipalities of Algeciras and Los Barrios to deal with airport matters. The initiative aimed to encourage the establishment of flights between Spain and Gibraltar.
Officers from the City Fire Brigade began selective industrial action after what the union believed to be a breach of industrial relations on the part of government. The action aimed to ensure UK conditions be used as a guideline to implement a local agreement.
Gibraltar did not participate at the Strait Games after San Roque insisted on using the slogan, "The town where the real people of Gibraltar live." Government believed this breached the no politics agreement.
We're not interested in their motives. There are rules. The rules have been abided by every other city that has hosted the Games. And San Roque has got an obligation to abide by those rules. They may not use flags, they may not use national anthems, and they may not use politically charged slogans. The question of the reasons for it, the motives for it, are irrelevant. The rules are there, they've got to be complied with. If they are not, particularly if they are not in a way which is politically unacceptable to Gibraltar, then Gibraltar's participation in it will be rendered impossible.
The local newspaper Panorama published the first of its daily editions. The paper had been a weekly for 25 years.
A full live opera production was staged on the Rock after a 50-year absence. The Gibraltar Philharmonic Society presented Verdi's La Traviata.
It will be the first time that the Gibraltar Philharmonic Society will be taking on this ambitious venture of doing a fully staged opera. No? And I'm glad it is Verdi's La Traviata, which I've been wanting to tackle for a long time.
The Transport Commission granted a licence to the firm Calypso Tours to operate 10 additional coaches. This followed a 16-month hearing into the application, which was objected to by the Taxi Association, Southern Garages and a jointly owned tour operator, Hercules Travel. The objectors lost a subsequent appeal.
The Gibraltar Special Olympics team won the Rock Trophy five-a-side football tournament. The tournament coincided with Special Olympics European Football Week, held in over 40 countries.
New residential facilities were established in different areas of the community, following the closure of the Bishop Healy Children's Home. This was described by government as the start of a new era in residential childcare.
Gibraltar witnessed the largest number of cruise ship visits in any one day. 6 ships carrying over 5,000 passengers and over 2,000 crew members were accommodated.
The European Court of First Instance ruled in favour of the Gibraltar government and annulled the European Commission's decision relating to tax-exempt companies. Government had argued against the exempt company scheme being classified as new aid.
The Transport and Workers Union organised a May Day rally, which included a 3-hour stoppage in protest of the holiday being moved to create a long weekend. Only 75 attended.
The plans for the Theatre Royal were revealed by the Culture Minister Bernard Linares. The project was started in October 2000.
The Theatre Royal has been historically, the ethos of the theatre has been historically a jewel in terms of not just the building, but its cultural significance to the people of Gibraltar over the years. It has been a magnet for brilliant theatrical productions over many years, bringing to Gibraltar great artists, and certainly more than a building. That's why we want to restore it, because not so much of its physical building connotations, but because of its historical and cultural connotations.
St Joseph's Parish Church celebrated the silver jubilee of its dedication by the late Bishop Edward Rapallo.
The annual open-air painting competition organised by the Heritage Trust saw a record number of entries.
A Spanish national was extradited to the Rock from Spain and was charged with the murder of businessman Moti Kimlani in November 1997. 29-year-old Luis Martín Ramírez was committed to the Supreme Court and will be arraigned on the 8th of January.
13 travel journalists from the UK spent 3 days in the Rock, hosted by the GTB.
The Gibraltar Spring Festival got underway with a number of planned events. In the art exhibition, Tamara, a painting by Tiana Langdon, won the first prize.
Government launched a publicity campaign in an effort to win over British public opinion to Gibraltar's cause. Adverts were placed over 10 days in all British newspapers. The success was evident as letters and emails surpassed the 250,000 mark.
Over 15 vessels moored at the Water Gardens pontoon were destroyed by fire. 3 locals were arrested and charged with arson.
A Boeing aircraft operated by Monarch Airlines needed to be grounded on the Rock when it was found to be damaged on arrival. Specialists were flown in to fix it.
It was in May that Emily Horton had the best day of her life. She celebrated her 100th birthday with family and friends.
Campaigners from Plymouth handed pro-Gibraltar petitions containing over 30,000 signatures to the Queen and Tony Blair.
The MOD's Golden Jubilee celebrations ended with a bang when a fire broke out in the Camp Bay cliff face after debris from a fireworks display fell onto nearby bushes.
The Tourist Board launched a History Alive programme, which saw military pageantry on Gibraltar streets.
A multi-million-pound refurbishment programme began at the airfield. Undertaken by British Forces Gibraltar, it was estimated to take a year to complete.
Draw 12 of the Gibraltar Government Lottery was postponed after the machine broke down. It was the first time this had happened in many years, and the blame was placed in the air mechanism's failure to jumble the balls.
Systematic inspections of the rock faces were to be carried out after a report commissioned by government concluded there was an unacceptable high risk of rockfalls in the area of Dudley Ward Tunnel.
The state of alert on the Rock was increased with the MOD deploying a floating boom in Admiralty waters. Around this time, alleged members of the Al-Qaeda terrorist group, reported to have been planning attacks against British and American warships in the Straits and Harbour, were arrested in Morocco.
By now, you will have seen the results of the Click It campaign. The snaps were taken on the 21st of June.
A reggae sunsplash descended over the rock in June with top band The Wailers performing for the first time.
And the month concluded with yet another cake with 100 candles on it. Staff at Mount Alvernia organised Minya Almeida's party and wished her a very happy birthday.
July saw the return of the popular summer nights at Casement Square. Following the first year's success, the scheme, this time organised by the Retail Tenants Association, was expanded to offer entertainment on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursday night saw the return of GBC's karaoke, which was followed by performances by local bands. However, the creation of Tuesday nights was geared towards the younger members of the family, with bouncy castles, fun performers and musical acts.
A rival evening of entertainment to the summer nights was put together by a couple of businesses in Governor's Parade, commonly known as a piazzella. Performances throughout the summer varied as establishments here attracted good crowds, adding an extra feature to the local diary, as well as providing entertainment for tourists.
It was at the Queen's Cinema last July that 21-year-old local beauty Damaris Hollands was crowned Miss Gibraltar 2002. The annual pageant was organised by Film Exhibitors Limited and saw 11 girls compete for the title. 18-year-old Natalie Monteverde took the title of First Princess, while Bianca Sciarra, 20, was chosen as Second Princess.
A number of international performances graced the Rock during July. Up-and-coming musicians from the North Hertfordshire College played at a number of venues, including Casement Square. It was a youngster's first trip to the Rock, proving a valuable all-round experience.
The North Irish Territorial Army Band visited the Rock as part of its summer camp. Hosted by the Royal Gibraltar Regiment, it performed a number of engagements, including a concert at Mount Alvernia and on a visiting cruise ship. The group also presented a children's musical workshop at St Christopher's School.
Local Methodist and New Life Church organised a programme of events aiming to provide entertainment while spreading the news of Jesus. As part of the project, Northern Irish band Small Fish played at a number of venues round the Rock.
3 large textile drawings produced as part of a Millennium Art and Design project by children from a number of schools were inaugurated at the Casements building, where they are now exhibited. The panels represent the youngsters' interpretation of Gibraltar's past, present and future, relying on the Rock's culture and heritage for inspiration.
Once again, the annual summer sports programme proved popular. This year, sports associations worked closely with other organisations to ensure the project offered a large variety of activities, making it the biggest and best yet.
This year is, definitely without a doubt the biggest programme that we've actually had, with nearly all of the voluntary sports associations putting on either a taster or full coaching clinics with their now, qualified coaches.
It was a Jiska Pipeguard Majorettes from Denmark who provided colour in the city centre during a visit in July. The group performed a variety of displays and dancing routines, entertaining locals and tourists alike.
The Fine Arts Association's first summer exhibition opened early in July at the gallery in Casement Square. President Willa Vasquez said that although pleased with the outcome, it hadn't been easy to put together.
The problem always in hanging, in setting up exhibitions is not the actual physical hanging the paintings. It's what goes with what. This takes a lot of time and thought. And when the styles are so diverse, it's very difficult. Solo exhibitions are so much easier because it's one style and all you have to do is, put them up. With this, the work is in deciding what goes where.
La Bayuca, one of Gibraltar's longest established restaurants, closed after 40 years.
Local lifeguards saved 5 in a successful rescue operation. The incident involved 3 young girls, their mother and another woman.
It was pretty hard to get them all out at the same time, and I wouldn't leave them alone because I knew that if I went out with one, the other one would probably drown. And as soon as you lose contact, you won't know where she's drowned. So that's what I did. I tried to keep with them, keep them out of the water, slowly push them out, and waited for some more help to help me take them all out.
Last year's model search winners were James Clinton and Chitalvi Jumal. Organised by Mount Productions, the show at the Alameda Open Air Theatre saw 11 delegates perform a number of routines. The winners will represent Gibraltar at international pageants.
In July, the Court of Appeal overruled the Chief Justice's ruling that the exclusion of women from compulsory jury service was unconstitutional. Appeal judges Sir Brian Neal, Sir Christopher Staunton and Sir Ian Glidewell did not come to a unanimous decision. This followed the Chief Justice's decision in May to make jury service for women compulsory, when he ruled that a section of the ordinance was unconstitutional after a woman had argued that an all-male jury would not be objective, especially in cases of domestic violence. After the appeal court's decision, the claimant indicated she would appeal to the Privy Council. This could take years and meant that women still had to voluntarily sign up for service, with jury trials going ahead unless the legislation was reviewed and changed.
The refurbishment programme at Mount Alvernia started in August. Costing in the region of £2.1 million, the development aims to improve all existing facilities and create new ones to house an extra 50 residents.
The Gibraltar 1st 4th Scout Group Corps of Drums celebrated its 90th anniversary with a marching display at Casement Square. Around 16 members took part, performing some military numbers as well as Irish and Scottish arrangements.
The Corps of Drums was started in 1912, and being that date that they started, it's actually 90 years that we did. We don't actually know which month the Corps of Drums started. We know it's sometime in summer, so we've chosen August, the beginning, to celebrate the dates.
Gibraltar Botanical Gardens received a variety of aloe plants from Kew Gardens. The local collection continues to grow, boasting over 200 different species.
A local team participate in the Commonwealth Games in Manchester. Although no medals were brought back, most were pleased with their performances and the experience gained, with some breaking national records and personal bests. The most admirable achievement was by 15-year-old Jamie Zamit in the 50-metre breaststroke, who made history for being the first Gibraltarian to reach a semi-final event in an international competition.
I'm very proud to have led such a good person like Gibraltar. The swimmers, the athlone, the shooters, they were great. And I'm very proud to be the leader.
Local bottling broke new ground as Zirconian Speed inaugurated a new plant at their premises. The updated state-of-the-art equipment ensured the continued production and bottling of drinks locally.
Radio Gibraltar starts its summer roadshow from the beaches. Presenters entertain listeners and crowds alike with popular summer songs and various games.
Local Fidelis Extreme Power Boating Team won the 2 races for its category at the British National Championships meeting in the UK. Team members Glenn Mir and Ronald Massoud look forward to further competitions.
A-level results hit a new record last year. Bayside registers a 99% pass rate, with the girls faring slightly lower at 95%, and the College of Further Education with a 97% pass rate. A day dominated by excitement and emotions for pupils, parents and teachers alike.
The government defended the decision by the Development and Planning Commission to allow the demolition of a nearly 200-year-old building in the area of the piazza. This was met by criticism from some quarters, given the building's historical value.
Gibraltar is represented at the 17th Annual Vermont Captive Insurance Conference. The event brings together many major US and international players to discuss important issues in the insurance world. The local stand, set up by the Finance Centre, was manned by Director James Tipping and Liaison Officer Guy Ganessa.
The Honoured Elderly Award, a new concept introduced last year by the Elderly Care Agency, was awarded to John George Joyce. The presentation by the Minister for Social Affairs, Yvette Delagua, was held at the Senior Citizens Club. Here, in the presence of his nearest and dearest, he was commended for his noble efforts and kind heart.
The annual fair last year was held before the start of the school term and as a lead-up to the National Day, so that children and youngsters would get the maximum benefit out of it. Held over 9 nights, it once again proved a popular family event with plenty of rides and stalls. Live entertainment and special events with a selection of food and drinks were organised by both the family and youth pavilions to cater for all tastes and ages. However, all was not fun and games when a 20-year-old youth was involved in an accident on one of the rides. Although he fell approximately 10 metres to the ground, he did not suffer any injuries.
The chairwoman of the Gibraltar Federation of Small Businesses, Marilu Guerrero, received a threatening letter in the post. The police investigated the incident.
Works on the site of the Bayside Sports Complex resumed in August. The current phase consists of the construction of a new sports hall, with the whole project scheduled for completion at the end of 2003.
It's designed so that 2 volleyball games or 2 basketball games could be played at the same time. So it will be a big structure, something like in the region of 48 meters by 42 meters roof span. and hopefully it should be able to accommodate all the pending sports and all the great demand we are having for sports facilities.
The Chief Justice ruled conditional fee agreements, or CFAs, permissible in Gibraltar. Commonly known as no-win, no-fee agreements, they are of particular significance for people who've suffered an accident and find it financially difficult to sue for compensation. In his ruling, the Chief Justice allowed the agreements, highlighting, however, that after-event insurance premiums cannot be recovered without there being a change in the law.
2 tourists required medical attention after being shot with an air rifle. Both sustained minor injuries and, although treated in hospital, were discharged on the same day. No culprits were identified.
The Tuesday summer nights at Casemates came to an end with a beauty contest. 9 girls competed for the title of Miss Summer, won by Leanne Valsoon. The show, described by organisers as fresh, casual and innovative, included performances by local singers and dance groups.
September marked the 30th anniversary of the introduction of the comprehensive school system locally. The event was celebrated with a reunion night organised by a group of former Bayside School's first intake pupils. This marked what many agree is a success story for education on the Rock.
Comprehensivism has been, on all counts, a success story. There were prophets of doom at the time. They said this was an ideological, social thing, but that academically, educationally, it would be a disaster. Well, history tells us otherwise, that the comprehensive system has led to what we see today, those fantastic examination results, over 600 of our pupils now in higher education.
Later in the year, the first intake presented the school with a commemorative memento to mark the event. The small representation included present and former politicians and well-known personalities.
The youth swing band Just in Time concluded its Rock Solid Tour 2002, as they had appropriately named it, in September. The last show at Governor's Parade and before the Union Jack and Gibraltar flags proved symbolic to the group, who eagerly await the theatre's restoration.
The Photographic Society's annual exhibition ran as part of the National Week festivities. It attracted around 250 entries with the theme Our Gibraltar. Although diverse in subject matter, the photos reflected the Rock's unique history, heritage and identity, proving both an aesthetic experience and one with social and political significance, especially in this past critical year for the Rock.
The South London Philharmonic Orchestra featured in the Philharmonic's National Week concert. Popular classics, to include Ravel's La Valse and well-known arias, were performed at St Michael's Cave.
Locally, it was a week of entertainment. This continued with the much-awaited Melon Diesel concert at Victoria Stadium. The show attracted a crowd of about 2,000, all eager to hear the band's new material, and supporting act Breed 77, who played on the Rock for the first time. A combination of heavy metal tunes and commercial rock in true local talent.
National Day started early for some with the traditional balloon blowing. The fancy dress competition at Alameda Grand Parade attracted 23 entries last year and proved a difficult task for the judges. Overall, it was a day of fun and entertainment for many. Gibraltar took to the streets in waves of red and white, where most took advantage of the public holiday to spend a pleasant day enjoying lunch and other activities in the company of friends and family.
September the 11th marked the anniversary of the terrorist airstrikes against the United States. Locally, the event was marked and the victims remembered in a minute's silence.
A clock is unveiled at Casement Square to commemorate Lyonnaise Desert's first 10 years of operation on the Rock. The clock is erected at the old Health Centre building, now Watergate House, and is designed by the building's original architect.
Gibraltar is represented at the Sea Trade Mediterranean Cruise and Ferry Convention in Genoa. Participation reinforces the importance of cruise industry locally, especially the government's interest in increasing cruise calls to the Rock.
Special Olympics National Summer Games takes place at the Victoria Stadium and Nuffield Pool, with the athletes competing in track and field and swimming events. Unlike other years, only local athletes competed.
A total of 13 government departments joined forces for the annual Law Enforcement Torch Run as a prelude to the Games. Taking part this year and visiting especially for the event was the European Regional Torch Run Coordinator, who officially opened the Summer Games.
McDonald's restaurant is set alight in an arson attack in September. The incident occurred around 3 in the morning, with the fire limited to the fiberglass mascot at the forecourt of the premises next to the children's playing area. Minor damages were caused to the building and to date, no culprits have been identified.
Philatelic Bureau breaks new ground and sets a world record by issuing a set of stamps produced with actual rock. Stamps depict views of Gibraltar from all angles, with the stone powder having been applied only where bare rock is visible.
The District Grand Lodge of Gibraltar celebrates its 250th anniversary with a comprehensive programme of public and private functions. The celebrations aim to embrace the military, civic, social and community connections which the district has on the Rock, with the event attracting delegates from other overseas lodges.
Well-known Southampton and former England footballer Matt Letizia visits the Rock and meets with the tourism minister and, of course, avid local fans.
The first ever Gibraltar Health Week is organised by the Health Promotion Group and Gibraltar Health Authority. A number of functions are organised, including a public health day at Casemates, focusing on health issues and healthcare on the Rock.
Is that health is something we need to engage in, even when we are healthy or feel healthy. And this is an opportunity for everyone in Gibraltar to come in and, in a relaxed way, engage in the whole question of their health.
In October, €425,000 was provided by the European Union to fund the Gibraltar-Morocco Interreg programme until 2006. The scheme aims to promote joint action in the fields of training, communication, tourism and heritage in order to establish cross-border networks to create greater economic cooperation between both countries.
The Department of History at Lancaster University has awarded a research grant of over £255,000 to explore the history of Gibraltar. The three-year project, launched in October, aims to establish a base on local history in UK universities.
The return of the Clever Girls proves a success. This year, the event was organised as a tribute to the late Gladys Perez, one of the original organisers, as well as celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Cursillo movement.
The mock firing of the 100-ton gun at Napier of Magdala Battery as part of the Galpe Conference took place with no reported problems. The same and only other existing gun was fired simultaneously in Malta. Locally, reservations had been expressed by residents living in the area concerned with the safety of the firing. For this reason, the load of black powder was reduced from 25 to £10, which represented only 2% of what would have been used to fire the gun in its heyday.
Gib Telecom introduces a broadband service, allowing for unlimited 24-hour internet access. Advantages of the service include much higher access speeds, as well as simultaneous use of the telephone.
Following an analysis which found harmful levels of mercury in saltfish, marlin and shark, the Environmental Agency recommends that no more than one portion a week be eaten. However, pregnant women, those intending to become pregnant, as well as children under 16, were advised to avoid these types of fish altogether.
A drug awareness junior mini Olympiad is held by the RGP and Ministry for Social Affairs. This attracted a great response, with youngsters participating in a number of sporting events, all for a good cause, raising money towards Bruce's Farm Rehabilitation Centre.
The GONHS takes part once again in the European Birdwatch. The event aimed to bring birds and nature to people, with birds ringed and released for research and many others spotted and recorded.
The convent looked like Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle as members of the Grenadier Guards, complete with bearskin headgear, stood guard. The soldiers from the renowned British Army Regiment were in Gibraltar on a short posting.
Over a decade has already passed and the IRA shooting incident still haunts Gibraltar. A new book, A Secret History of the IRA, claims to reveal the real story behind the SAS shooting of the 3 IRA members back in 1988. Ed Maloney, a journalist for the Dublin-based Sunday Tribune newspaper, alleges the victims were shot in cold blood.
It's called A Secret History of the IRA, and it reveals an awful lot of secrets that the IRA would rather be kept hidden, perhaps forever. And, the Jerry Adams' experiences and track record with the IRA is only one of many stories that are told for the first time in this book.
The second princess to Miss Gibraltar, Bianca Chiara, competes at the Miss Tourism Beauty Pageant in Sri Lanka. Here, in one of the preliminary contests, she scoops the Miss Rising Star Award.
Still on the subject of beauty, beautification works on the 9.2 gun at O'Hara's Battery are completed. The work on site by members of the Royal Artillery 105 Regiment, based across Scotland and Ireland, aimed to restore the gun to its former glory.
The Health Authority's School of Health Studies is validated for the second time at Sheffield University for the pre-registration diploma in nursing.
The new Sonnelumiere system at St Michael's Cave is inaugurated. The theatrical narrative combines interesting local historical and mythical facts, proving to be a sensory experience full of entertaining and dramatic visual and sound effects.
Gibraltar was put on the international map once again with the third Powerboat Festival held locally. This year's highlights included the final of the British National Championships, with local team Fidelis Extreme participating for the first time and coming in third overall. Another initiative was the final of the local racing, which had been held over the summer season and timed to conclude at the festival. This was won by the Vata team. The Flying Kilo run, a fun race for charity, was also organised with the crowds entertained further by the aquabikes displays.
The Royal Gibraltar Regiment completes a 3-week training exercise in Morocco. Exercise Jebel Sahara aimed to deliver challenging infantry training to enhance operational efficiency.
The 12th Iberian Symposium of Benthic Ecology is held simultaneously in Gibraltar and La Linea over 4 days. It was the first time the biannual event was held in a border region, and for this reason also billed as the first Transborder Congress on Marine Biology.
We're very, very pleased both with the outcome of the conference. In fact, the response was tremendous. So we had almost 250 delegates attending from not just the Iberian Peninsula, but also further afield. We've had people from Mexico, America, other parts of Europe. So it's been the response has been very good. The quality of the articles, the papers, the research that's been presented, been very high, and everyone has I think got a lot from it. Not just from the scientific side, but I think a lot of people have also enjoyed their experience here in Gibraltar.
The Environmental Safety Group is given charitable status. It pledges to continue to tackle issues such as local and cross-border problems, as well as lack of appropriate enforcement, and hopes to raise public awareness.
Over 70 musicians performed at the Sacred Heart Church as part of the Philharmonic's Classics for Pleasure series. The Siberia Philharmonic has been the largest to perform at the church to date, performing Russian works by Tchaikovsky and Prokofiev.
It was in October that the Minister with responsibility for heritage, Keith Asopardi, addressed the Heritage Trust members at its AGM for the first time. Topics covered, amongst others, included the transformation of the Trust's role over the last few years.
We now have the precedent has been set. For the first time, a Minister of Heritage addressed the Heritage Trust AGM, and it has emphasised the fact, underlined the fact that the Trust is now working in cooperation with the government, still maintaining its independence, and they have recognised that we have a different constituency. Even though our aims may coincide, we have a different constituency, and we speak on behalf of the public.
Setting sail from the Rock this month were the 12 crews taking part in Rally Antigua 2002. The transatlantic adventure will already be over for some, as a group had planned to reach Antigua and the warm waters of the Caribbean by Christmas. Very much a family affair, with the journey a first for some.
The RGP's annual report is made public. Issues highlighted included the introduction of breathalyzers early this year, with both the infrastructure and legislation already in place.
The Gibraltar National Dance Organisation participates in the World Dance Championships held in Germany. It participated among 25 countries, with almost 2,000 dancers taking part. The best result was achieved in the dance show duos category, where Dulce Baglietto and Janaika Salesia qualified for the finals, finishing in 8th position. In the adult duos category, Seamus Byrne and Aaron Caballero made it to the semi-finals, finishing 8th overall.
November saw the completion of a new retreat and public event centre in the Lathbury Barracks area. The centre provides a modern public building for all sectors of the community and will be used for seminars and conferences, amongst other events. Presently run by a charitable trust with 6 local trustees, it provides sleeping accommodation for 60 people, as well as a conference hall, workshop room and dining facilities.
The Rock awaited the referendum results in anticipation. People gathered at Casement Square and outside the John Mackintosh Hall until the early hours of the morning. Giant screens broadcast GBC's live coverage of the count. The scenes were reminiscent of the 1967 referendum, when police also had to form a human chain to allow access from the John Mackintosh Hall. Although many combined a long day of waiting with dinner and drinks, nothing detracted from the significance of the day.
It's extremely significant because it's a difference between being recognized and being ignored by the nations. We are a people, small as we are. We believe we have every right to decide our own future, and therefore this day represents just that.
I think it's been very significant. I mean, really, we should have all been given a day off, and then we would have been like National Day, and it would have been, you would have really seen the heart of the people. Everybody believes the same thing, that no, the answer is no, we don't want co-sovereignty. We believe in what we want, which is that we want to be British Gibraltarian, and that's it.
I've come deliberately on this day to support the people of Gibraltar in their wish to remain independent, which I think they should. More power to them. Really hope they do.
The moment when the results were announced, confirming only 187 yes votes, is one that will be etched in many people's minds. One of the most important moments in Gibraltar's history.
The overwhelming result against John's sovereignty continued to be celebrated days after the referendum. The Laguna Estate Tenants Social Club had the perfect recipe for a proper Janito party. Plenty of calentita, panisas, torta de acergas and calabacines rellenos, all washed down with plenty of sing-alongs to include the Gibraltar anthem for a night of fun and enjoyment.
And the local Cursillo movement celebrated its 25th anniversary. The event at the Catholic Community Centre included talks by local and visiting Cursillo leaders, as well as historical presentations.
It's a celebration for the Cursillo movement, but it's also a celebration for the whole Catholic Church in Gibraltar. So I think it's a momentous and important occasion for the community here.
Gibraltar was left in the dark after a major power cut affected the rock. The 3-hour blackout was caused by an 11,000-volt short circuit at the King's Bastion substation. This was soon fixed.
The fault was eventually traced to this substation we're in now, and it was found that the bus bars are the connection of the 11 kV circuits inside this panel had short-circuited to earth and had caused a massive fault. The fact was that, you know, the bus bars in the section that had burned out had melted. And this had caused, you know, the power to be drained.
The Tourist Board's new advertising campaign for the forthcoming season was launched at the World Travel Market, where Gibraltar was once again represented. The Take Another Look campaign was designed to give a fresh look at the Rock's attractions, aiming to reinforce tourists' perception of the Rock as an attractive Mediterranean destination.
In November, Gibraltar remembers its war dead. While the main British ceremony was taking place at the Cenotaph in London's Whitehall, the traditional annual Remembrance Day ceremony and service was held at the Cross of Sacrifice, where wreaths were laid. Armistice Day was marked in a short ceremony at the lobby of the House of Assembly, with a memorial commemorating the names of those Gibraltarians who gave up their lives in the wars allocated.
Heavy rains flooded Gibraltar in mid-November in what was an abrupt end to the prolonged spell of good weather we had been experiencing. A total of 30.3 millimetres was recorded, representing nearly a quarter of the usual monthly rainfall in just 12 hours.
Gibraltar's flag is flown high as the first Gibraltarians to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest freestanding mountain in the world, reached the summit. The four-man team completed the arduous 7-day journey on schedule, raising over £6,000 for GBC's Open Day.
Yeah, we obviously decided to take the Gibraltar flag since it was going to be the day after the referendum and to put it up there, so that was quite good. We all felt quite close to Gibraltar even though we were so far away.
Coinciding with the World Travel Market, Gibraltar is represented at the British Guild of Travel Writers Annual Awards held at the Savoy Hotel.
The unique plant community is identified on the cliffs above Little Bay. The discovery by the GONHS reveals several large stands of a succulent plant with origins in the Canary Island.
Local law firm Hassan's is approved as a training establishment by the United Kingdom's Law Society.
Ladbrokes Gibraltar pays out the largest ever UK slot machine win to a 36-year-old woman from Manchester. Michelle Black flew to the Rock to pick up a prize of £201,000 after striking jackpot on the Major Millions game.
The book Gibraltar, Many Faces, One Nation is launched, featuring many of the photos submitted for the Click It competition held in summer. The book aims to provide a pictorial record for future generations of how Gibraltarians lived their lives in 2002. All entries were exhibited at the Fine Arts Gallery.
The convent opened its doors to the public for its annual Christmas fair. Food and entertainment were provided throughout the day in order to raise funds for local charities. This year's main benefactors include Calpe House and St Vincent de Paul.
Stage musicals announced a restaging of the musical production Arrow, the Legend of Robin Hood for June. Written and composed by William Phillison and Trevor Giuliano, is still being recorded for public release on CD before the performance.
Gibraltar erects a 7-metre Christmas tree at Casement with decorations produced by pupils of St Paul's School.
The Garrison Library was the venue where funds for the Marie Curie charity were collected. The initiative by Lorna Swift mirrored an appeal of the Royal Marsden Hospital in London. Locally, people were asked to make a donation and pin a star on a tree in memory of those who died or to help those suffering from cancer.
The Gibraltar Amateur Drama Association held an exhibition at the premises. The display, which aimed to give local drama groups an opportunity to present themselves to the public, included material from past and upcoming productions. The focus on the future of drama on the Rock and especially the revival of the Drama Festival.
Gibraltar's artificial reef was enlarged in December. The vessel General Elliot, which served the port department between 1940 and 2000, now rests alongside her sister ship Admiral Rook.
Local artist Bathsheba Peralta launches a CD, Luna de Verano, featuring some of her poems released as songs. Work on the project with Melissa McIntosh and Dennis Valerga took over a year to complete.
GBC's annual charity Open Day once again proved a great success, breaking all records. Around £58,000 were pledged during the marathon 15-hour radio and TV show, supported by the whole of Gibraltar. The Open Day has become one of the most important events in our local calendar, with the public looking forward to the comedy sketches, musical acts and villancico competition, amongst other things that are shown exclusively on the night. And all for a worthy cause or causes, with the money raised distributed among local charities this year.
And to prove the benefits of the Open Day, the St John Ambulance blesses its new Crusader at this year's Radio Roadshow. The ambulance, which cost £50,000, was bought using part of the funds raised in the 2001 event. The unique and modern vehicle will be used primarily to convey patients on long-distance trips for emergency treatment in Spain.
The 11th Bayside Energy Rally final took place before the Christmas school break. A traditional event, it's part of the National Curriculum Energy Resources module, where Year 8 pupils have to design and construct a vehicle capable of travelling a distance of 10 metres in a straight line in the shortest possible time. This has become very much a part of the school calendar, with teachers and pupils looking forward to it every year.
Conservation work starts at the Moorish Baths at the museum. The delicate project, costing around £15,000, will see experts from Cadiz Museum and professional restorers working together to refurbish the baths to its original state.
December also saw the launching of the RGP's drink driving campaign. The message highlighted the dangers, with the police confirming they would adhere to a zero-tolerance policy. Although the breathalyzers were not implemented throughout the festive season, the RGP announced these will be used earlier on this year.
The RGP put into effect a special operation to cope with the large crowds which took to the city centre for Christmas Eve celebrations. Extra officers were deployed in town to ensure all festivities were carried out in good order.
Those who wanted a bit of exercise to burn off the Christmas excesses took part in the Gib 3A's fun run on Boxing Day. Around 50 sportsmen and women joined joggers in the traditional Round the Rock circuit, which this year was rerouted due to the closed Dudley Ward Tunnel.
Many braved the weather on Boxing Day for the annual polar bear swim. Although the sun was shining on this occasion, the water was cold. A good response generated, with almost 80 diving in. And believe it or not, it wasn't the only polar bear swim on the Rock. Members of GASA also braved the elements, raising over £200 for the Open Day.